Folks, thanks so much for tuning in today. First of all, forgive that wild background you see right behind me. There's a little bit of modern art going on. We're on the road traveling, doing a bunch of speaking engagements across the country, so sometimes I don't always have control of the studio itself. Look, let's jump right into it. Going to try and save you a ton of time of doom scrolling by covering everything from the latest in the Iran crisis all the way down to some pretty amazing stuff that's happening on the culture side. Jumping right in here at Stockwell Day-to-Day News, the Iranian situation, one of the questions that's coming up is which side is going to run out of missiles and drones first? And U.S. very confident that they've got enough missiles, that they've got enough attack capability. The challenge being Iran has been able to make, and with the help of China, tens of thousands, not just of missiles, but also of drones, smaller drones that still require the capability to be knocked out. So we're watching that. Interesting. I'm still betting. I'm going with what the markets are saying in terms of duration here. People are saying, is this going to go long term? I still think it's going to be on the short term side. And watch the markets themselves. Israel economy, strong, very strong. Israel currency is up. Israel companies are up. U.S. dollar is up. And look, not that there aren't negative things happening in the market. There certainly are. Price of oil, of course, and price of LNG going up. That's going to affect all kinds of pricing. But on the broad base, we see where the markets are going in terms of confidence. An interesting sign reported on an intelligence report that in Qatar has one of the largest, if not the largest, LNG export, liquid natural gas export capabilities in the world. It's the Ras Laffan complex. 20% of the world's LNG comes from there, and they've just loaded now. They suspended all activity a week ago, but they have just loaded one of their biggest liners, LNG liners. It's ready to go. People are watching. The intelligence reports are saying that whether it's going to the Cape, or sorry, the Strait of Hormuz, or whether it's going in another direction, we'll wait and see. But definitely a sign of some confidence there that they could load one of the largest LNG container ships in the world. Shows that they're not being foolhardy, but they're not being overly concerned. They think that the rocket capability of Iran has diminished, and that huge LNG liner is going to be safe out there and protected. Well, another byproduct of the war in Russia-Ukraine, Finland has just announced that they will be allowing the staging of nuclear capacity on Finland soil. Now, that's a very interesting development. Of course, Finland does not have nukes themselves, but allowing nukes to be positioned there, Russia has said this is a red line for them. They have said they are going to watch this very carefully. This also shows some confidence in that Finland and obviously the EU thinks that Russia will be spread too thinly to launch something against Finland. So quite a remarkable breakthrough there. The mainstream media isn't picking up on. Let's see where that goes. It's also reports coming out that Russia has increased their recruitment of women into the military and women from prisons in some of the other nations that Russia controls. They're coming in for support and obviously kitchen type facilities, but manning those, but not those exclusively. Russia is training women to be snipers. And Ukraine, which is sort of interesting, has always had women in military. But the reason this is a shocker for Russia, not just a sign that they're actually, never mind running out of missiles, running out of men, is that Putin, of course, has always had a strong stereotypical role related to men and women, and has never wanted to see women in the military. And now they are aggressively pulling them in from prisons. So it makes you wonder how much choice those women have. In Canada, Japan, very interesting, and I'm thankful to see this. The Prime Minister of Canada having some very good business meetings. I believe he might be the first world leader to actually visit in person the new Prime Minister of Japan, Saini Takachi. Now, and regular listeners and viewers know, I've been talking about this woman for some time, even before she won her election in a landslide. Very small C conservative woman, very traditional, maybe you might say, in some of her thinking. Very smart woman. Mainstream media has tried to ignore her because, as we know, mainstream media will be supportive of women if they are small L liberal in all their views. This woman, the Prime Minister of Japan, is not Saini Takaichi. It would be a classical small c conservative. And the Canada's television and news network supported by the government, the CBC, in the headline story about the meeting, couldn't even say her name. They said Prime Minister Carney of Canada meets with, are you ready for this? Counterpart in Japan, meets with counterpart. I'm sure some people are going to be wondering, is her first name Counter and her last name Part? What's going on there? Come on, media. You got a smart woman there. Don't ignore her just because she's small c conservative. And Prime Minister Carney, I think, has made some good trade moves there relative to Japan. In Quebec, they just got a nasty ruling, nasty in their eyes, from the Supreme Court of Canada. They had a situation which they took to court because they were saying, Quebec, of course, is being concerned about illegal immigration and other forms of immigration, refugees that are denied. And they do not want to be paying daycare costs for women who are declared refugee failures or asylum failures, and so they weren't providing subsidized daycare. And the Supreme Court of Canada has now said they have to supply non-citizens, refugees who've been turned down status, with daycare. That's going to have some fairly monumental effect across the country in similar types of rulings. The gun buyback program in Canada, I'll tell you, when I'm in the States and when I'm in the U.S. and I tell Americans that the federal government is trying to buy back everybody's guns, and if they have under certain designations, of course, and by October, if you haven't sold your gun, which is now classified as dangerous, if you haven't sold it to the government for $24,000, that's the average price that it's going out, that you could be in jail. So the gun buyback program continued to fail, and your gun, though, may be worth $24,000. That's the average. And remember, as we reported yesterday, this is at a time where homicide by knife killing has far outsurged and leapt ahead of homicide by guns. Well, in the U.S., talking about getting fired, Kristi Noem, of course, very well known as the head of the Homeland Security issues, has been fired by President Trump. I predicted this some time ago, because you can't be in Trump's cabinet and be seen to also be wanting more maybe than your fair share of the limelight. She just did an amazing video, a beautiful video of herself on a horse riding in front of Mount Rushmore. Apparently that was used to promote some of the policies. Listen, a great video. She looks fabulous, but we're talking about working for Donald Trump. And I'm not saying that was the reason she was fired. There were other reasons also. She's gone. And the person that President Trump will be nominating, Senator Mark Wayne Mullen from a Cherokee background. He's Cherokee background, and he's being nominated. Now, he will come out of the Senate, and that would mean a special election. They feel that they can contain that and keep their seat in the Senate. Interesting guy. He's a mixed martial arts professional in his previous life. And at a Senate hearing not that long ago, last year, there was the head of the Teamsters Union was kind of getting into an argument with him or at the microphone. This is right in the hearing. The Teamsters Union head got pretty insulting, and Senator Mark Wayne leapt to his feet and challenged him to go at it right then and there. He said, let's go, let's do this right now. The Teamster Union head backed down. Incidentally, that Teamster Union head has become a supporter of the person who may well now be head of Homeland Security, a person who says he is against this silly notion of sanctuary cities that hides criminals who should be deported. So that's going to be interesting to see. Well, the other person running and hoping to be president one day for the Democrats, of course, California Governor Newsom, and he has always opposed, and he has even passed laws, as has his legislature, to oppose anybody who wants to require ID for voting. ID for voting has been standard ever since democracy has been invented pretty well, and he has opposed that. And the legislatures opposed it, but a referendum that was requiring a certain number of names to be able to put this on the ballot in California, quite a while ago, there was a law passed saying that citizens themselves, if they got a certain number votes could get an item for consideration on the ballot in an election, and that has been achieved. The amount of signatures that were required to put voter ID on the ballot has been achieved. That will be coming up in the October elections in California. And very interesting, here you have Governor Newsom and the Democrats in Vancouver. They do not want people to have identification to vote, but 71% of Californians think it's proper. So interesting to see how the Democrats and Governor Newsom fly in the face of what the people want. We'll see how that goes. We'll also see how it goes. Governor Newsom has just declared Israel an apartheid state. If you go on StockwellDay.com and look at the documentary that I did relative to October 7th, you'll see I have one section there. It's about 45 minutes long that deals with this completely crazy notion that Israel is an apartheid state. They are the most democratic and religiously free and equal rights of any nation in that whole part of the world. So anyway, he's kind of stuck his neck out there. Well, 24 states are challenging or suing in court Donald Trump because, as you know, the Supreme Court struck down his ability to bring in the tariffs as he was doing. So he immediately brought in a unilateral tariff of 10 to 15% across the board, depending on what designation your products are. And there's 24 states that are going to take that to court. Well, talking about states and Democrats, I predicted, and those of you who were watching some time ago in a discussion, two separate discussions, there was somebody I spotted at the Texas legislature. This is at the state level, a guy by the name of James Tallarico. And he was getting a lot of media attention as the sharp young guy, very progressive. And he has just won the primary, that's like the nomination to run as the Democrat hopeful in the Texas U.S. Senate election that will be coming up in November. And he knocked out Jasmine Crockett, who personally, as a small seat conservative, and as I'm sure the Republicans were hoping Jasmine Crockett was going to win because she has been significantly unhinged in so many of her pronouncements over the last couple of years. But James Tallarico, one very interesting guy, young guy, looks good, and he promotes himself as a Christian progressive. As a matter of fact, many times on the campaign trail, he will read directly from the Bible. Now, if a Republican or a conservative ever tried to quote from the Bible, of course, excuse the expression, but holy hell would rain down on them from mainstream media. But mainstream likes it when he quotes from the Bible because he uses biblical scriptures to say that God actually is okay with same-sex relationships, okay with same-sex marriage. And just recently I watched him at a big event, and he took out the Bible and he used the Bible to say that God, sexually at least, God is binary. God is not male, God is not female, God is binary. So interesting to see if his Christian progressivism carries well in Texas. Well, in terms of products on the market that are carrying well, the Kopani yogurt chain, if I personally like that kind of yogurt myself, it's gone way up in stock. And very interesting wars that are going on, the hamburger wars. You may have seen this. McDonald's was talking about a new super burger. Remember I talked last week, I said watch for McDonald's to reply to the new Whopper burger that was being promoted, the upgraded Whopper, by one of their competitors. And the McDonald's CEO got himself in a bit of trouble, and people mocking everywhere, because when he went to take a bite, he just took a teeny weeny bite out of this beautiful new McDonald's burger, and all kinds of memes going up, everybody ridiculing, and other CEOs from the other burger chains showing up with their burgers and taking big chomping huge bites out of the burgers. But the interesting thing is what it shows overall, folks. It shows meat is back. Meat is back. There's still many people, of course, are vegan and vegetarian, but people now no longer hiding from the fact that beef is okay, and they're chomping it down. Well, one thing that people are chomping down less as you go into Lent, the Lenten period observed by Christians, many denominations, people give up certain things for 40 days as a sign of fasting, as a sign of devotion. I remember when I was a kid, my family being Anglican, they practiced this, and one year for Lent, I gave up punching my brother, which made my parents very happy. But financial fasting is catching on among some of the big, this isn't just as a result of the economy, but people saying they need to be more circumspect about spending money, and is it really money and purchasing that brings joy? So we'll see how that goes for the 40 days. In Europe, there was just a very significant ruling that came down in the court in Malta. In Malta, there was an individual who had been taken to court because he had previously identified as gay or homosexual. And then he said he has had a change of faith and a change of heart, and he is now heterosexual. He feels it is not right for him, speaking for everybody, it's not right for him to follow homosexual practice or lifestyle. And so he's been talking about that publicly, and he was taken to court. He was sued because he was seen as promoting something called conversion therapy. And he actually was taken to court for this. He fought it in court. And the Malta court now has said he is allowed to. It's amazing this type of thing in a free and democratic society even gets to court. But they have said it's okay. You are allowed to talk about the fact that once you were practicing in terms of same-sex preference and same sexuality, and now you are seeing and wanting to identify as heterosexual, and we're not going to call that you're teaching and preaching on that. We're not going to throw you in jail for doing that. That's really caught on across Europe. That's caused huge problems across Europe, especially in the LGBT community, who feel that anybody who was once proclaiming to be gay or LGBTQ and now is saying they're straight or trying to be straight should be locked up. So I think it's whatever you are, we should all be saying that's a victory for freedom of expression, you would think. Well, in Cuba, there are reports that as people are literally starving, and the Cuban communist regime finally being shown for what it is, being so awful to its people in terms of the economy, and groups of Christian farmers are the ones who are helping the starving in Cuba. And now these are people, and I went with one of these Christian agriculture farm groups about 4 years ago. I went to Cuba, and you go in there, you're allowed to take in a certain amount of cash, and we went out to the rural areas where churches are on the rise, where Christianity is growing, and the Alberta farmers that went there, and I accompanied them, are actually, and had been doing this for a few years, going into churches there, helping start churches, but helping them start small farms, small sustainable farming. Those little farms way out in the rural areas where the communist dictatorship can't crush them are the ones that are now helping people who are starving in Cuba. Amazing to see that transition. Folks, that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. Give me your comments continually, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye now.